Here's one we just happened to chance observe on the last week's bushwalk through the Lucas Heights Conservation Area again. And I've been looking for this one around Heathcote Road, Sutherland, Liverpool area where there's records, and I haven't been able to find it, but we finally found it here, which is great. So I've just uploaded a video on Acacia ulicifolia. This is the very similar Acacia echinula, or echinula, you might say. And it sounds to me like that's got a bit of a root in the same word as echidna. And that stems back to the Greek word for sea urchin, akinos. And that's sort of the roots for words like echidna and I would say echinula as well. Just very spiky phyllodes. And in the past, this has been treated as I think a subspecies or a variety of Acacia ulicifolia. But you can see the heads are very golden yellow. This nice golden yellow colour, where ulicifolia tends to be very pale cream to almost white. These have a deeper yellow. I think the peduncles are also thicker. They're like a thicker, more rigid peduncle. And there's some slight differences in the phyllodes as well. I think the phyllodes they think sort of are more tubular rather than angular a lot of the time. And they sort of end more abruptly than they do in ulicifolia. Sort of these, I don't mean to say completely vague differences, but they're just some of the differences that are stated. The flower colour to me certainly gives it away. And thicker peduncles. I'll have to check that out one day. Just a thicker globular head. Thicker peduncle on the globular head. Echinula, it's got a really strong Sydney distribution. It doesn't have the range that ulicifolia does. It is mainly in the Greater Sydney area, down to about Nowra, up to about Newcastle, or I think west to about Lithgow, up the Blue Mountains. It's got a very strong Blue Mountains distribution, and it's got a strong northwestern Sydney distribution as well. Down here in the Sutherland Shire, it's a bit less common. I think there's some scattering of records up through the Hunter Valley, maybe towards Singleton, or that area roundabouts, the Singleton area. But that's it. It's a very strongly Sydney-linked species, or Greater Sydney, and just like Acacia linifolia. So it's got something in common with that. We're here on the Menai Plateau again. Lacking sandstone outcrop. You get a strong lateritic shrubland here. And we've got things like Eucalyptus capitulata growing as a mallee. There's Eucalyptus camphildii around here too. And there's things like Eucalyptus squamosa, the scaly bark, as well as scribbly gum, growing with, xanthorrhoeas and Banksia oblongifolia and things like Angophora hispida. It's a very beautiful sort of plateau sort of shrublands here, almost a sort of shrubby, not quite a heathland, but just a nice shrubby mallee woodland. If you ever want to check it out, it's a good time of the year to do so now as well. I think the phyllodes, I would say it's sort of as prickly as ulicifolia, but it's got a bit more of a softer feel to it, but then the prickles sort of get you. So it's going to be difficult to handle, but it's, the bloody tips of the phyllodes are very sharp, and they will have look at that mucro. They'll definitely have a mucro there. Very sharp. I think the leaves are described, or the phyllodes are described as being a bit more clustered than ulicifolia. There's more phyllodes per centimetre of stem. So we have that feature as well. I think the phyllodes can be up to 13 mil by 1 mil wide, so only a millimetre wide. 13 mil long, and more tubular, less angular than ulicifolia, but I haven't checked that out either. You can see again, we've got one globular head per leaf axil wherever they're coming out. Just the one globular head per leaf axil. So no more than that. A thickened peduncle. I think in Echinula, they might extend further out from the foliage, just a little bit further out. Maybe a longer peduncle, but they're definitely describing a thicker peduncle. There will be a gland down on the bottom of the phyllodes, and I don't know if I'll pick that up, just like Ulicifolia. There'll be a gland at the bottom. Probably be hard to pick up, but it'd be there on the upper side of the leaf again, the upper leaf margin. Although these are tubular, so that becomes a bit vague. But there is one gland down there. And as you can see, just a deeper yellow with the globular heads. Nice, deep golden yellow. So that's one of the things that sort of smacks you in the face when you see it. It just looks very different in the flower colour to Ulicifolia. The other one I have to show you is Brownie Eye, which has a very fine spaced foliage. It's not as clustered as this guy. The foliage is even finer, you would say less than a mil, and it's got deep golden yellow heads as well, but it just has a much sparser foliage than this guy here, and I'll have to see if I can get a video on that in before the season ends. Echinula, Acacia echinula, as you can see, this will be habitat for it, this nice lateritic plateau shrubby woodland, but it also grows on sandstone outcrop commonly enough. In places like Maroota in northwest Sydney, I've seen it growing on Hawkesbury sandstone outcrop, on the sides of fire trails, going through places like Maroota Conservation Area up that way, and off that Wiseman's Ferry Road, it'll happily grow there on the sandstone outcrop. So it's a sandstone species by and large. But here, it's definitely growing with a fair bit of clay and laterite in the soil. So we might have a bit of a clayey sandy loam here, or a sandy clay loam on this plateau heath, which has a little bit of impeded drainage. So it'll like habitat like that as well. But strongly Greater Sydney area. Doesn't get further afield than that. Just note, some people just treat it, some botanists historically, they just treat it as a variant of Acacia ulicifolia. But I think it looks different enough to warrant it, although we would have to argue if it wasn't in flower, you would probably say it's ulicifolia without a good study of the leaves. And mainly you're looking for very tubular leaves and less angular phyllodes compared to ulicifolia, so that might be a problem with it. If I took all the flowers away, it would look like a very ulicifolia shrub, I do admit. So that's Acacia echinula. It's a beautiful one. Not sure how well they grow in cultivation, but they'd be worth a try if you could get this sort of result. Just the number of flowers per head. It's probably something like 20 to 40, like ulicifolia. You can see in these heads, there's a hell of a lot of flowers. I know they're not in bud, but you can just see there'd be a lot of individual flowers there coming out in the one head just to create that big fluffy appearance. I think ulicifolia was 20 to 35 flowers in a head, and I would bet money that this guy would be the same, because they're not talking about that as being a difference. Beautiful plant. And I'm glad we saw it here the other day. I now know where there's a stand in the general Lucas Heights, Heathcote Road area.